The laptop was still sitting on the table by the window when we returned to the room. The kids walked in talking about the games they had played at the pool, while I passed the table and slowed down. All I had to do was open the laptop, and the stock's closing price would be right in front of me again. The shares I had bought more of were still at a loss. The shares I had bought earlier were still in my portfolio. But the trading session was over, and the weekend was ahead. I reached toward the laptop, then stopped. The market was closed. Looking again would not change the price. Everyone was getting ready to go downstairs for dinner, so I got my things and went with them. But as soon as the hotel room door closed behind us, the image of that laptop followed me all the way down to the restaurant. The kids sat next to each other, competing to tell stories about the pool. One of them talked while waving both hands around, making everyone at the table laugh. I laughed too, asked a few questions, then reached for some food. But just as the conversation shifted to what we would do tomorrow, the closing price suddenly entered my mind. I could see it so clearly that I could almost see the red beside it. My hand stopped over the table. If the stock opened lower on Monday, the shares I had just added would make the loss bigger, while I could still sell the shares I had bought earlier. But if I sold and the price went back up, like it had during the last session, I would once again be watching the stock rise just after I had reduced part of my position. My phone was right beside me. I picked it up. My finger moved toward the familiar spot, then stopped before opening the trading app. The market was closed. The price board could only show me the same number I already knew. I turned off the screen, put the phone down, and returned to the conversation. One of the kids asked if we could go back to the pool tomorrow. I said yes, and everyone started talking about where we would go and what we would do. One story led to another, pulling my attention toward other things. The heaviness in my body began to ease, but when everyone stood up to leave the restaurant, my hand touched my pocket again, as if checking that my phone was still there. We walked around the resort before returning to the room. The kids ran ahead, stopping at decorations along the way, then turning around to tell us to hurry up. I walked with everyone, listening to the laughter and watching the lights along the path. There were moments when I genuinely forgot about the market. But whenever the conversation paused and everything around me became quiet, that empty space was almost immediately filled by a Monday trading session that had not even happened yet. In my mind, the stock opened lower and I sold. Then the price recovered, and I had to watch it climb back up after I was already out. Another possibility appeared. I did not sell. The price kept falling, and the shares I had just added made the loss even heavier. One scenario replaced another until one of the kids called out to me, making me walk faster to catch up with everyone. The scenarios did not disappear completely. They only moved into the background whenever there was something else in front of me to look at. When the hotel room door opened, the laptop appeared again on the table by the window. While changing clothes and putting a few things away, I found myself looking toward it several times. I walked over and placed my hand on the lid. All I had to do was open it. I could look at my account again, check my average cost, or see whether any new information had appeared after the trading session. But at the same time, everything that had happened in front of the price board that morning came back. The red, the moments when I wanted to sell, then wanted to buy. The order window opening, then closing again. I took my hand off the laptop. The market was closed. Even if I looked, there was nothing I could do. I walked toward the bed, and when that number was no longer in front of me, the heaviness in my body really did begin to eat. Breakfast quickly turned into a conversation about all the places the kids wanted to visit around the resort. As soon as they finished eating, they headed toward the play area. I went with them, took pictures of everyone, waited outside one activity, then joined the kids for another. Most of the time, I used my phone only to take photos. But a few times, while it was already in my hand, my finger stopped near the trading app. The market was closed today. The price could not move. The stock could not fall any further, but it could not recover either. And somehow, that stillness began to make me even more uncomfortable. On a trading day, at least I could see where the stock was going. A move up might make me feel a little lighter. A move down might force me to think about a decision. But now, yesterday's closing price simply sat there unchanged in my account, while every possibility for Monday kept changing in my mind. While waiting for the kids at one of the play areas, I took out my phone and opened the trading app. My portfolio appeared with exactly the same number. I looked at the loss on that stock, then turned off the screen. Not long after, the phone was in my hand again. The number was still the same. I searched for the company's name to see whether any news had appeared over the weekend. One article led to another. Nothing I found could tell me what the price would do on Monday. The sound of the kids running back toward me made me lock the screen. I put the phone away and continued walking with everyone. As another activity began, the discomfort faded, but this time I had already looked at that number again, and even with the phone back in my pocket, I still remembered exactly where it was. At the dining table, the kids had everyone laughing. Dish after dish arrived. I joined the conversation, and for quite a while, the star did not appear in my mind at all. Then my phone vibrated while everyone was talking. My eyes immediately dropped to the screen. It was only an ordinary message, but as soon as I picked up the phone, my portfolio appeared in my mind again. I opened the app. I looked at the number that had not changed at all, then closed it. The moment I put the phone down, another thought made me want to search for more information about the company. The first article made me feel a little more reassured, but another perspective in the next one brought the discomfort back. I locked the screen and pushed the phone farther away. "Dad, eat." I looked at the younger child sitting beside me. Only then did I realize that the food in front of me was almost untouched. I picked up my chopsticks, but it took me a while to find my way back into the conversation everyone else was having. The pool, the paths around the resort, and all the activities the kids still wanted to try continued to fill the rest of our time. Sometimes I laughed freely. Sometimes I completely forgot where I had left my phone. But that feeling always found its way back. It did not need a price board in front of me. All it took was sitting down while everyone was changing clothes, waiting for the kids at an activity, or a few seconds of silence in the conversation. And the closing price would appear again. The kids wanted to go to the pool, so I went with them. Everyone wanted to walk over to another part of the resort, so I went. When we stopped for a drink, I found something to talk about or took out my phone to take a few pictures. The moments when I was genuinely busy made me feel better. But as the day went on, I began to notice something. Whenever everything around me slowed down, that heaviness returned. Back in the room, the laptop was still on the table. I pulled out the chair, sat down, and placed my hand on the lid. I opened it just a little, just enough to see the dark screen inside. But the image of the portfolio I had already checked on my phone appeared again. My hand stayed there for a few seconds. Then I closed the laptop. Tomorrow was still the weekend. I would deal with it on Monday. I stood up. The moment I stepped away from the chair, the heaviness in my body eased again. Everyone was on the other side of the room. The kids' conversation pulled me towards something else, and the laptop remained untouched on the table. As the things scattered around the room were gradually packed into our luggage for the trip home, the kids were still arguing about whether there was enough time for one more visit to the pool. I gathered the remaining things, checked around the room, then walked over to the table by the window. I picked up the laptop, but before putting it into the bag, I held it there a little longer. For 2 days, I had gone almost everywhere around the resort with my family. There had been moments when I was genuinely happy. There had been times when I did not think about the market at all. But now, as the laptop went back into the luggage, that stock was still sitting in my account at exactly the same price I had last seen. 2 days had passed, and the thing that had been making me uncomfortable was still coming home. The car left the resort while the kids were still talking about the trip. One of them talked about the activity they had enjoyed most. The other insisted the pool had been better. I listened, answering from time to time, while keeping my eyes on the traffic ahead. After we had been driving for a while, one of the kids in the back fell asleep. The conversation inside the car gradually became quieter. Tomorrow, the market would open. The closing price appeared in my mind again. This time, there was no pool to step into, no other activity waiting for me, and no weekend left to tell myself that even if I looked, the price would still be standing still. The laptop was packed away in the luggage. The stock was still in my account, and tomorrow I would have to open it again. Traffic became heavier as we approached the city. I glanced at the rearview mirror, then returned my eyes to the road ahead. A car from the next lane moved in front of me. I eased off the accelerator to create more distance, then continued with the flow of traffic while tomorrow morning's trading session had already begun playing out in my mind. What would I do if the stock opened lower? If the selling pressure returned like it had in the previous session, would I keep waiting? And if I sold immediately and the price turned back up, would these past 2 days end with me watching the stock recover after I had already left the position? My eyes were still on the road, but my attention had been pulled far beyond it by the scenarios of tomorrow's trading session. Suddenly, the brake lights of the car ahead flashed red. The distance between us disappeared fast. I slammed on the brakes. The tires scraped against the road as my body was thrown forward by the force of the stop. The car ahead was almost completely stopped in the middle of the lane, and the space between us was disappearing faster than I could react. I jerked the steering wheel to the side. The car swerved as its direction suddenly shifted out of the lane. Everything in front of me tilted sharply to one side.